So what I've just done is I loaded a new screen in Logic. This is a completely empty template, nothing in there as you can see. I even have to adapt the tempo to the song. Now, let's first load in some of these examples of analog versus digital mixed tracks. So I am gonna drag these files in here, create new tracks, and I'm gonna play you guys the difference between some of these songs, create new tracks, and the last one. There we go. These are just some examples of songs that are either edited, mixed, or released by us, or even produced by us. And I say us because it's not only me, it's a big team that's working here at the studios. So I'll be one of the artists, and sometimes I'll be contributing to the mix, but it's never really a solo process. Just keep that in mind. It's always great to ask another pair of ears to listen to your mixdown, because sometimes after working for a long time in the studio, your ears are going to be saturated and you cannot hear the differences as much anymore as the beginning of the day. Sometimes skipping a day or just giving your ears some rest is going to give you a huge advantage as well. So making sure that we have to set the right tempo, I'm just going to select something in the middle here and play out this song. Just making sure that it has the right tempo. Well, Logic just determined it's 128 BPM. Most of the times, Logic is quite accurate with its BPM analyzer. Just put it on a track that you like to measure, and then it will give you the exact tempo. Let's see. I think the most important part here first is starting off with setting the track about right so we can have a good comparison between the two. I firstly took a song that we have done. It's actually a song of Trilin and Yarrow, and I made my own edit of that. I made an own version, which sometimes can, work really well because I just like a song, but I want to change a few small things to make it to my taste and play it out in my sets. And that's usually what happens when we get a really great song in, and I'm like, okay, this is great. We can put it out the way it is, but I feel like there's a small amount to be won by changing a few things. So let's start off with this pre-SSL demo, and you're thinking, okay, that's great, but what is SSL? Now, SSL stands for Solid State Logic, and it's a brand that has been producing mixing consoles for the last, 20, 30 years? I have no idea. A lot of big bands used to mix on those, and there's actually some speculation on the internet if it's actually working for you when you're producing EDM or electronic music. I think it does, but you can actually create your own opinion about this after hearing the demos here. Keep in mind that you don't need all of these expensive devices in order to make a good master. I just wanted to give you an example of what the difference can be between analog and digital mixing. And after this demo, if you're like, hey, I actually want to get my demo mixed on an analog console to get that same kind of flavor, feel free, you can hit us up on Instigate Studios and we'll be more than happy to help you out with your tracks as well. So everything here is done in the house by, actually, I think the first example is a combination of Nils, one of our engineers, and myself going back and forth in my old studio and our new SSL studio. This was the actual first exciting result. And it takes some time before you understand the logics of mixing in analog, because it's completely different than mixing in the digital era. So let's start off with setting it about right. Drop. Okay. Okay. Almost there. Okay, about right. I just figured out that it's both of them are different edits, but it's about the drop here that matters the most. And it also is going to give you the best possible view on the mix. So yeah, an amazing production already by Trilane and Yarrow, which I edited a little bit here and there, changed some of the things. I think I changed the kick drum even. It's something I usually do because a lot of these songs have great ideas, but then they just miss the punch in the kick drum. And I don't know, I just have a particular liking when it comes to kick drums, and especially if you play it out live, you want to have that impact, and then a kick drum is so important. So let's dig in the official digital version and the first actual mix down of the song. It sounds like this. It's actually not that bad. Well, it really doesn't sound bad at all. And maybe you're thinking, oh, but you know, there's nothing to be won there. Well, you know, you'll be surprised when you hear a SSL mix in it. And of course, it's not only a magic trick that you're gonna, you know, load your track in and play it out through an SSL, boom, and you're there. Of course not. There's a lot of tweaking, and also in the analog workspace, there are so many tricks and so much knowledge that you can gain over the years by producing music, tweaking, that it is going to take some time to get the best possible result. And this is our actual, it's not my first SSL, actually it's not Nils's first SSL mix, it was my first SSL mix, and yeah, this is the difference. I'm going to just swap between the two. And, you know, one of my friends said in the beginning, oh, isn't it just a limiter that you put on there that's just louder? Well, I can put a limiter on there and show you how it behaves. It's really not just a limiting, it's really not just limiting and, you know, getting the same result. As you can hear, I can limit until it has no breathing space anymore, until it's absolutely smashing it, but it's not gonna get you the same result. And why? It is EQ'd differently. There's a whole different process with an analog mixing console than with a digital one. The clipping is different. It's not gonna distort that much. And actually the clipping in analog can sound quite nice when you don't do it too much. So that is the first difference. Want to jump to another one of Trilane and Yarrow together with Eva. Let's start off with the pre-SSL, so the digital one. As you can hear, quite a big difference. So for me, the biggest difference next to the highs in there that are very crispy on an analog console, it also feels like it's really glued together, like you have a good solid fundament with some really nice warm mids and some crispy highs without being it harsh. So again, it's also a matter of playing around with it, getting familiar with it. It's not going to get you the best result in the very beginning, but once you get comfortable with it, you can achieve amazing results with an analog console. Jumping in, the last example, which is Ups and Downs. Big shout out to W&W, Willem and Bart. I was really happy to do this collab with them, and we are actually working on a new collaboration. Finally, after I think a year or two, we are almost close to an end result. But before we dig into that song, which I'm not sure if I should play already in this masterclass, but I can play the difference between Ups and Downs, which is the song we put out, I believe, in 2019. A really nice blend between the two styles, I believe. Let's start off with the pre-SSL version. Okay, that's the comparison for now. Keep in mind that you can achieve a quite similar result, not really the same, if you're really good with digital plugins. But if you want to have that last 20% of boosting, and if you want to get that warm character, if you want to get that huge sound, it is going to make a difference in the end. And especially when you play it out live, a song that you have been mixing on an analog console, and especially if you know what you're doing, obviously, then when you're playing it out live, it really feels like you have an extra dimension. It feels like you go from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional. And I think that is going to really make a difference in your sets when your song is mixed nice and tight.